There we are.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling, creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. I'm also the author of Your Goal Guide and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting, how to stay focused, grow your network, and get more done in less time. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive into the topic. And full disclosure, I want to be on Substack. So, and if you host a show, what do? Well, you have a conversation on Substack, which is how this conversation came about. Jim Fuhs, his partner in Dealcasters, was on with Fun with Tech, and we started going down the Substack rabbit hole, and I'm like, I'll just do a whole show on that. Jim, come on the show. So I've got like the best world and the best community. Viveka and Kat Neff are both in 52 Secrets. Jim, don't feel bad. There will be other books, and we will get you in that next one. But anyway, I digress yet again. You might be tuning into us as GoalChat Live. You might be watching the replay. You may even be listening to us as GoalChat on the Marketing Podcast Network, no matter how, or you might be watching us on Jim's Substack. But no matter how or why you found us, we are so glad you are here and going down the Substack rabbit hole with us. Friends, why don't you introduce yourselves? Because I am friends with all of you, and I'm a little bit behaving like everybody else should know you. They should. That's why you're here. But let's formalize it a little bit. Jim, let's start with you. Who are you? Why are you here? I mean, not like existential, but
wow, that was really deep. I had to think about that. So my name's Jim Fuhs. I'm the president of Fuhsion Marketing and also the co-host of the show Dealcasters, which is not only on Amazon but also now on Substack, where we interview lots of folks in the marketing field, book authors like Deb, and we talk about their new releases as they're coming out on Amazon. And I've really gotten into Substack because I like the fact that I guess I call it's multimodal, and that it's not just about writing anymore. And there's some other things we'll talk about. But retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel, and I'm a veterans advocate. So I'm looking to just help people tell their stories with video.
And I also should tell you that Chris is watching us live. So thank you for tuning in. And he also wants to know why you are here, existential or otherwise. So anyway, it's really good to see you. And I'm really excited to be having this conversation. Kat Neff, great to have you here. Again, who are you? I'm not going to ask the second question because too many rabbit holes at once. We might all get, sucked into a wormhole.
Yes. Well, Jim can't monopolize the book.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I love that.
That wonderful book. I'm Kat Neff, and I've been in Mind, Body, Spirit publishing for, a couple decades now. But I started when I was very, very, very young. So, and I like Substack because I started having a conversation with Deb about it because there's so much rich content going on there about so many different topics. And it's just, I've always been really curious about what people think, what they're interested in, why they're interested in it. And so I guess that's how I got into publicity, and working with authors. Because I try to help them to establish relationships with the podcasters that they work with. And so that, after they leave me, then they can go on and have a brilliant career out in the media. With Substack, I have an account so I can lurk, because that way I can see what's going on in the world. I've got salty politics. I've got sustainable fashion. I've got all kinds of things that are of moment, and I think that make a lot of sense to a lot of people. And so it keeps asking me, it says, well, write something, and I don't. Um,
You can't tell me what to do.
yeah, you can't tell me what to do.
Well,
So I don't know
and
exactly what I would write about because I'm so interested in other people. I have such an outward looking sort of point of view that, come in here and like dig stuff out when I think, gosh, I could just look at all these other people. Anyway, so maybe my friends will prod me into writing one day. Who knows?
well, the element that I am excited to have you in this conversation because of is it is a resource.
Mhm.
Do you remember when Twitter, now X or whatever, was the place where you got information? And I feel like Substack is a definite not replacement, but a level up from that. But we will get there. Let's say hi to Viveka.
Hello.
If it'll let me swap you out for Viveka, it did. There we go. Viv, great to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm waiting for your question.
I'm gonna ask you, who are you and why you're here? You and I have been friends for eons, so I just assume people who know me know that I know you and adore you and vice versa. But beyond that,
Yeah, I was gonna
you, Viveka.
so now I'm an Enneagram 7, and which I found out I am. But Viveka von Rosen, now the founder of Beyond the Dream Board. And yeah, I am here to learn from Jim. But
No pressure.
here's the thing. I'm a big fan of signs. And when I have like 5 different people in one day say you should have a Substack, why don't you have a Substack? Where's your Substack? Substack, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I can take a hint. And then it was funny because
Oh, I think she unplugged her microphone when she hit something.
Yeah, I think, Viv, you did what I do, which is so enthusiastic that, but actually, I think the weather that Viv warned us that she has is having, because it says that her video, yeah, she left. She'll be back. That's okay. This is why we love the power of live, because you expect it to be a casual conversation when anything or everything can happen. So Kat and I are together on the board of Women's National Book Association, San Francisco chapter, even though she is in Minneapolis, I am in Los Angeles. And I was hosting a lunch and learn on podcasting for authors and last week. And we had a couple Zoom bombers and just some really bizarre, but we were talking about podcasting. And I said, ever wonder what it's like to host a live show? This is what it is like to host a live show, because you never know who or what can and will or going to happen. While we wait for Viv to come back, Jim, I think we're all nominating you as the de facto expert on Substack. And it's something, I joined it a while ago, but other than using it to follow people, oh wait, did I vamp long enough? Nope, she's still not back. Other than using it to follow people, I know that it is such a good source of getting in front of people who don't know you, which
Yes.
has always been my big thing. I'm Goal Girl in my mind. My name is associated with goals, but apparently not everybody knows I exist. And it feels like a platform like Substack is a great way to get in front of new faces, etc. Is that what you think? Is that the value, or is the value different from that?
I think that's one of them. I think it's a great place to build community. And I say that from the perspective of even if you're just writing content, right? When people subscribe and follow you, you get their email. And so now you have a way to take that conversation further, because it'll let you email them. And, you could say, hey, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for following me. I even like the fact that, and maybe other programs do it, but this is really where I guess you could say I've started to pay more attention. It rates your interactions. So as an example, if you're always liking and commenting on my stuff, you're going to have 5 stars, and like on a scale of 1 to 5. I can sort by my subscribers and say, I'm going to email all the 5-star subscribers because these are the people that are always, doing great things, saying nice things about me, or hey, you're like my super fans. What would you like me to do more of? Maybe it's write more. Maybe it's, less live video, that sort of thing. So that's where I think that's one of the things I really like about it. So I think it's also, I think for me, the big thing that I noticed, and this is really what kind of drove me to Substack, was not that I was a big Facebooker to begin with. And we kind of had that joke before the show about how Facebook has now demonetized my Facebook that I didn't know I was making any money on anyway. And so, but the point was that Facebook groups were starting to get attacked by Facebook. First, it was, if you wanted to use a third-party streaming tool, they're making it very difficult for those people that are not. Yeah, we hear you. They're not helping people that are not tech savvy. Like, what do you mean I've got to put a key and all this other stuff in? And so then, what I guess the last 2 or 3 months, they decided, oh, if you have live videos like this show, after 30 days, we're going to delete it.
I know, right?
Yeah. So with Substack, it's like, okay, we can go live on Substack now. I mean, you got to do a little bit of work to get there, but you also have a choice. You can say, you know what, I'm going to go live, but I don't really need this live video to do anything else. I'll just let it go off to the wind. Or it saves it in a draft and you say, you know what, I'm actually going to write an article that summarizes what the live video was about. So now you're giving your audience a choice. And you're not doing the, as I like to call it, the YouTube, oh, we've got to write a title that's going to attract people's attention, and we've got to do certain things to, because let's be, as I said in a thing I did earlier today, let's be honest. How many people actually read all the show notes and details in a YouTube video? No, they're out there to watch video, right?
Unless you're Kat Neff.
Yeah, no, Kat, that's
if you're
good to know.
listening, Kat just raised her hand. I do.
Yes.
Right. But I think she's an exception. I think a lot of people don't. So at least with Substack, now I write, as our friend Mike Alton would say, I write like I speak. I'm not sitting there writing in a way to say, oh, we've got to write this in such a way that it's going to get seen more. It's like, no, hey, this is what the show is about. These are some of the highlights. If you want to put timestamps, great. If you don't, that's fine as well. But at the end of it, it's like you now have an article. You now have content that some people want to read. You can put your podcast on there, your audio podcast. You can even upload video that's pre-recorded. So it doesn't have to be live. But I think just like we are here, the attraction of live, it's that real interaction, right? And that's what I think is powerful about community building is with live video. And a lot of these, I'll call them OG Substackers, you're seeing them start to really use live video just to have conversations with their fellow Substackers.
Okay, so and you're talking OG Substackers like what?
It started in 2017.
Yeah. I just saw that and I was like, wow, it's booming now.
Yeah.
But when I looked at the history of it in 2017, I thought, well, what's the thing, do you think, that made it just jump?
I think the video for sure, because I think what happened is, we'll just say post-election, some things happened and some people found a new way to have a platform that allowed them to express themselves without anybody like telling them, hey, you can't talk about this. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's been the other part of it. It's not like people are getting squelched in the algorithms. I mean, if I follow Kat, if I follow you and you post content, I'm going to see it. Mm-hmm. If I subscribe to you, you can send me an email whenever you post something. Then it's up to me whether or not I want to continue to use it or not. Or if I say, you know what, I'm tired of all these emails and I don't want to hear from you anymore. Now, hopefully we have Viveka back. At least she's got a great
Yeah, look how
backdrop.
beautiful it is out there.
Now I shall start sweating like a pig, but anyway, it's all good.
But we can see you and hear you. So that's the I'm thinking, and I have to write a recap for this. Good luck me. Viveka, did you even finish introducing yourself? I don't think so.
I don't know. Hey everyone, I'm in Costa Rica. You get what you get.
You were talking about Starlink.
Oh yeah, I think I was using some swear words. Yeah, Gecko, Starlink.
So you're saying it hasn't worked as well as you had hoped?
No.
Oh no.
Well, I think when you live in a rainforest, you never know what's going to crawl into your plug.
Right.
But on the plus side, you get to live in a rainforest. So,
but the plus side, I get to live in a rainforest. So there's that piece.
Amazing. We're just, I think we're.
What are we even talking about?
I'm trying to remember. I am vamping till I get there. No, I think we're still on because I want to go into the nuts and bolts of the Substack creation. But for each of you, what is the biggest value? No, actually, what is Substack? Do we even define what Substack is? Jim, define Substack. And then
I want to let Kat define it because I think she's got a different perspective from what I think it is. So I want to hear what she thinks first.
Okay. Yeah. What I did, I went over there, of course, started an account because it's a new form to me, and I was able to select some interests and that kind of thing. One of the things that's happened after the election is that I've become more interested in journalists and the development of journalists is almost personalities separate from their news outlets. And so, people like Joy Reid and Julie Rosinski, who's on television, CNN, I think, like every other minute, because she's got a podcast, blog, and all that called Salty Politics. And I said, Salty Politics, that's me all day long. So I was curious.
But if you were to define what it is to you, is it just a resource for voices and opinions?
It is, but it also, I go into the part where you can discover things and they just swoop on by. And so there may be something that I'm interested in. The thing that I like about it is that it's not celebrity focused like many things are.
Yeah.
It's like, who's got the more followers? Who's got the loudest voice? Who wore what to the Met Gala? I don't care. I don't care. I want to find out what these people are thinking about, what they're talking about, and have them stimulate my mind. I think it's a real privilege to be able to, just access these wonderful people who are producing all of these, opinions and observations and everything else. I mean, I'm on Bluesky also, but I feel like Substack has more rich content. I would say that.
Yeah.
We're going to let Viv define what it is to her, and then we will let you chime in, Jim, with something more official adjacent. So, Viv, what is Substack to you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of straddling the fence because, like Kat, I used to go to Medium and I used to go to sorry, the toucan is totally distracting me right now. That's awesome. Literally big toucan in our tree right here. I used to go to Medium and I used to go to Quora, for content. It's been a while since I went to Twitter for content, and Facebook's it's just going to feed you what you think. So, but both Medium and Quora stopped. They lost their gloss for me. Let me just put it that way. Mm-hmm. And so I prefer the quality of the content in Substack, and it's not being fed to me like I'm choosing it, right? So there's that difference of outbound versus inbound. And then as far as a creator, like I was saying, which you may or may not have heard, like 10 people in the same day said, you need to be on Substack, you need to be on Substack. And it was all kind of out of the blue, like Substack's been around for a while, but when 10 people are all telling me I need to be on something, I do a little bit of a deeper search into it. And I think the day I wrote my first Substack, Debra, I can't remember. Anyway, you had said, do you want to be on GoalChat? I'm like, yes, because I want to learn from Jim. Thank you very much. Yes, please. So I and then I wrote a Substack about Substack, because isn't that the first thing? We write a blab about blab, right? So isn't that the first thing? You remember blab? Blab.
You want to know what I remember about blab? When I wrote Write on Blogging, which was my second book that I self-published, I think blab went away the day before, or the day so I went in and I edited it and re-uploaded. So that is the impact of blab, because, well, obviously for a book on blogging that you do in was 2018, you want it virtual because stuff like that happens. But yes. Anyway,
exactly.
So for you, it was another place to share your voice.
Well, yes, and because I've spent the past year redefining my brand, and so it was like, no one on Substack knows me as the LinkedIn expert. So it's kind of, whereas on every other social, that's still how I'm findable, even though I don't use that anymore. It's just because there's so much deep, rich content from me about LinkedIn on all of the other socials I'm on. I don't have that history. So it was a great opportunity for me. Also, at some point I would like to monetize it. But I didn't even realize it had all the goodness it had. Like when Jim emailed us and said, I'm going to be streaming this live, I'm like, what? I mean, I knew you could upload video, but I didn't know you could go live. Like, holy crap. So now I'm rethinking all my strategies. And I love it. And, I've got I have a lot of people on my LinkedIn newsletter, but you can't really, I'm not monetizing it, and the engagement's okay, but I just feel like already I literally like over 5,000 on my LinkedIn newsletter, and I think I'm at 28 people on my Substack, and I feel like the interaction on Substack's better already. Like, it's crazy.
I'm going to digress. Because we were talking about this before we went live, and you're like, no, save the question for live. But I feel like and I love how you said, no one knows me on Substack as a LinkedIn expert. It's a great reinvention. So for when I joined Substack, because apparently it's inevitable, which Deb am I? Am I the Deb method? And this goes back to when I was freelancing. So when I started my first website, I was CoastBunny, which was a name I used for online dating, right? Just because I liked it, and I did. And if you go to linkedin.com/in/CoastBunny, it is also my LinkedIn URL, because I like the idea of creating something that was, DebraEckerling.com, boring. By the way, DebraEckerling.com redirects you to my LinkedIn. My point being, who am I? Am I the Deb method, or is it something that I create for my new book, 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting? Or for my specialty in book proposals, do I just start a Substack for that? So, Oracle Jim, how does one choose which identity to go all in on a platform such as this?
So you have some choices, which is nice. Is one, sure, you are yourself, right? Like Kat is actually on Substack, and I tagged her in our live, so she'll get her, 15 minutes of fame like we all are right now. But you can have multiple, what they call publications. So you could have a Deb Method publication, which would be its own site. You could have a author publication, which would be another site. The only issue you're going to run into is now you've got to manage multiple publications.
No one wants that.
Yeah. But it's kind of like that whole thing of like, well, what are you? If you confuse me, then I don't know what you're really doing. So I think there's something to be said for that, because even though like I have my one Substack Jim's writing and video journey, and we also have Dealcasters. I've thought about starting another one that's really around veterans issues, because it just doesn't fit in the others. And then maybe I would only write, and once in a while I might go live and talk to other veterans or people supporting veterans issues. So I think that's kind of how I'm looking at it. But if I tried to do that on we'll call it the social media platforms, one, it's so noisy, and it's like Viveka says, nobody sees it. Like, I mean, my wife doesn't even see Facebook posts, and we live in the same house. So I mean,
in the same bed even.
yeah, I mean, so I think that's where, for me, that's what really caught my attention about Substack. And to Viveka's point about newsletters, you can have newsletters within your Substack, but guess what? You actually know the email addresses of the people that are subscribing to your newsletter. LinkedIn's not doing, and Viveka, please chime in if you think differently, because you have your past with LinkedIn and but when I look at the fact that I get so many emails from LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Saying so-and-so's published a newsletter, and it's just not personal, right? It's not like it's a title and it's like, oh, it's another LinkedIn newsletter. So I think, to me, that's part of the reason of, getting into something you own. Even with the website itself, you can set it up the way you want it. You can have tabs that are taking people to your YouTube channel, you can create a resources page. So it's not like you're restricted and like, it's got to be exactly this way. It's like, you can build it how you want it. If you really want to, you can even create, get your own domain. But right now I'm fine with the Substack domain for what I'm doing. So that's kind of, I guess, I don't know if I answered your question, Deb, but
well, you didn't, but that's okay.
It
And I noticed that because when I signed up for Substack, it was as a reader. I am debraeckerling.substack.com, and as I just said, I don't use my actual name for anything, which is fine, But what you're saying is I can create anything from that. And I can create multiple identities. At least for me, no matter how many devs I am, it's all with goals in mind. So I do, goals and GoalChat and that goal through line, which is great for consistency. However, is it what makes sense for me? I guess I have to go Deb method myself, right?
Well, I think you got to look at it this way, though. When you're interacting in the Substack community, whether you're interacting in people's chats or people's notes, you're Debra Eckerling. You're not your publication. And so I think that's a big part of it, is like, you're you. If Kat makes comments, she's Kat. She's not whatever she decides to make. I think that's kind of the big difference. That's what I think I like about it, right? We're getting to know people. You can direct message people. You start to have conversations, in the platform, but, not for the whole world to see. So it has its own little, I guess, if you want to call it, dark web sort of features. And so that's where I think it's they're continuing to improve it. I mean, even the fact that I was able to schedule this live stream to my subscribers, that they got a link that this was going to go live. Right? Yeah, we can't share the comments because of the RTMP, but I can see we got a bunch of people out there making comments on Substack. Linda Ray's out there. Nancy Maryland is out there as well. One of Mitch Jackson's good friends in the legal community. So people are starting to pay attention to what it's doing. And I like what Kat said, right? When you go onto Substack, and I do it a lot on my desktop, right? Instead of going to Facebook.
Because I'm old.
Right. That's right. I can't see on the phone. What's up with these young people? You can pick these different categories, right? You can pick technology, you can pick sports. And if you subscribe to people, like I get an email every day. I live in Atlanta. I'm a Braves fan. And I get an email every day from this guy that writes about the last Braves game. So I love that I'm getting the sort of stuff that I want, as opposed to random stuff that feel like I'm being sold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That.
did have a thought about your veterans idea. There may be an existing group or an individual who's already doing something like that, and you may be able to join in instead
That's a
of
good idea.
establishing something else, because you've already got, I think you've got your hands full. You know,
I
and I
know,
know,
right?
Well,
and I know that,
I'm technically retired, but
yeah, I mean, yeah, you're a busy guy, but 3 would be a lot of, you need an assistant at that point.
yeah,
But with the veterans thing, I would look around and see who's doing that right now.
right.
Yeah, and see
That's
if
a
you
good idea.
can join in, add your voice, add your
Mhm.
content to it. That's relatable to it. I think that makes a lot of sense.
And I
think,
love that you
Mhm.
just said that, Kat, because I mean, that is one thing I've noticed. Like I did this Substack on Substacks, and a couple of the different prescription, I don't even know what we call them, Substacks, stacks, whatever, that I mentioned, like a couple restacks.
Mhm.
A couple of the women reached out to me, and it just reminded me of the early days of Twitter, like when you would mention somebody and they would see it and they would comment back, and like now you're creating a little friendship.
Yep.
It's just like, oh my God,
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun, and I think it's possible to interact on Substack, and that's why it's attractive to me too, because it feels more like there's community possible instead of all of us in our little individual cells,
Exactly.
pumping out content. And so, I'd like to see the development of interest groups and things like that. I think that would be, very attractive, very interesting. So, and I wonder, Deb, if Deb can't just have this really rich sort of personality. She could be Deb at the Deb method or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of having to establish all these little things, just be, the juggernaut you are.
So not put me in. I haven't been in a box yet. Why start?
Yeah, be all of what you are.
Well, and I am really intrigued by this thought of doing something that's actually under my name and not under one of my projects.
It's very empowering, let me tell you.
Okay, well, it's definitely food for thought, because I can't do a show without at least saying the word food. Jim, did you ever give your definition of what is Substack? It's rhetorical. You haven't. Jim,
I think it is. Well, I think I said earlier, I think it's a multimodal platform that allows you to build community through different forms of content. Because you can be a podcaster, you can share your podcast, you can be a live streamer, do your live stream, or you can just put recorded video, or you can just write. So you can choose what is the thing that drives you the most, that gets you to put the most content out there, but you're able to build community, and I know this might be a dirty word to some people, but you can also monetize it. You can have free and paid subscribers, and you can offer those paid subscribers value. As an example, I was talking about today, because I've already tested it, you can actually RTMP Zoom into Substack. So you could have a paid group that you say, hey, once a month for you subscribing to me, I'm going to have a Zoom. You can all show up, because only the paid members. And even if they miss it, because that video now went to draft, you can post it to your paid subscribers, summarize what was talked about.
Yeah.
So that's where I see that ability to add value, build community, without having to be on all these other platforms. And, other than, I guess we're all on Facebook because we've been there since the early 2000s. It's like, why? I mean,
well, I'm hardly ever there anymore, because it's kind of aged out for me. So,
right.
A lot of us have moved into IG, and so as a publicist, we're doing Facebook lives and the IG lives, and looking for other stuff. And I feel like Bluesky is supposed to be the replacement for Twitter, which is a
Mhm.
dumpster fire. So I advise people, and don't. I said just run away from it. Don't participate with it at all. It's just not. It's not a viable place to be if you want to have a public presence. But yeah,
And
Substack.
feel like
I keep going back there because it's so interesting, and I've never
So-
thought about having paid subscriptions for something, but there are some things that are worth it. And I think that it's like if you're putting your time, your energy, your knowledge, and all of that into it, there's no reason that you shouldn't receive some remuneration for your time and effort.
Mhm.
It's like $5 a month, $8 a month. I mean,
$8
it's
a
not
month,
like-
yeah.
it's totally, it makes sense to me. I said, of course, if you're putting all this effort and work into it, of course it should be monetized, but it's not like an influence out there saying, just like perfume or, some sort of frivolous thing. You're giving real value, like, because you're talking about real stuff.
Yeah.
That people will actually be enriched by.
So is it like one place where you could share everything that you would share other places, or are you creating new stuff, or is it a mix and matchy thing? Because a mix and matchy thing with that.
No, I'm asked the same question. Like I'm going, like, can I, and this is the wrong terminology, but can I like stream my podcast can I take all the things that I do and put them into Substack? Because I have people like, well, I'd follow you if you had a newsletter. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
That's what Substack is. It's one of the many components.
exactly. But if I could just go to Substack, my LinkedIn lives are there, my podcast is there,
Yep.
newsletters are there, my blah 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 is there, like my community is there, my if I could just feed them all, because my website and website's different. A website's like an edifice, right? It's like a building. It's not
Splash page. Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you, Viveka. That's probably the reason why I decided to go there, because I think even my website's copyright date's probably like 2021, if I'm being kind to myself. And at least I feel like this is forcing me to keep up active content. And you really can put whatever you, so your question, could you do everything there? My short answer is yes, because I don't really know what I couldn't do there that I would have to do somewhere else that's going to matter. Because I can share my links to any social platform. They even have some of it built in, right? Click here, we'll share it to Bluesky, or we'll share it to here. And they'll even give you graphics to go along with your post.
The first time I saw them, I'm like, wait, what?
I want my domain to point there, because I just like the, website feels so clunky to me. I'm like, yes, it's like mission statement and all this other hoo-ha.
Hey, don't be bagging on mission statements in front of me, friend.
Not useful. I'm like, yes, like I could do all these things and just point, everything there. Yeah, I have a domain, it's catneff.com.
Well, you could with a redirect. That's what we do with a lot of our Dealcaster stuff. We just point it to, just go in and redirect it. I think that'd be an idea.
I'm gonna see what's possible, because it's otherwise I keep sending people to this stale page where I don't have a picture up. It's like, no, I will make something else.
So right now, what I do with GoalChat is, so we go live, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube on Mondays, and then Tuesday it is a blog post with the recaps and the links, which, by the way, you can find at thedevmethod.com/blog. It also goes up as a LinkedIn post, and then later in the week it gets uploaded as audio, which goes to iTunes and all the other places. So what you're saying is, as long as I'm doing it to all those places, I might as well put up a note on Substack with a link back to the blog post or upload the video.
I would actually do this. As an example, if you really wanted to, if you gave me the blog post for this show, that would be my post on my Substack. I would just take your blog post, add the video to it, and voila, you've posted, basically cross-posted to my Substack with the video for people to go watch it. So it kind of kills, I'm sorry, Toucan, two birds with one stone.
They kill birds all the time. I mean,
So, but for the weeks when you are not my guest, and yes, of course, I will send you the link to the blog post, and you can just copy paste it, whatever. But for the weeks when you are not my guest, is that something I might want to do?
So you could do this, even though you don't have the ability to go live, because you are able to download this video off of your platform. You can upload video to Substack. There's no like, oh, it's more than 10 minutes and therefore you can't load it.
Right.
And then you could still put your blog post with it on your Deb Substack, whatever you're choosing to do with it. So you could put it out there with the video. So now, I would say maybe it's moving you a step towards killing off Facebook. That's just me, though.
Well, this is the biggest issue and you mentioned it before, is the fact that they're getting rid of live videos, because those get the most views. That's where most of my audience is. And what I've been doing is I started with the beginning of this year is uploading to do like a throwback on Monday or Tuesday to get the ones early in the year up. And then Thursday, which is the same day it goes to iTunes and whatever, I will put this episode up. But that just feels so like an unnecessary inconvenience that they're making me do that. And Taste Buds with Deb, it's another, I upload the YouTube separately, but I go live on LinkedIn and Facebook at noon on Wednesdays to share that show. So I can make Substack like YouTube Plus. So everything that I would put on YouTube is going on Substack under the banner of Deb Goal Goddess.
Yes.
Right?
Boom.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, you hit on, I mean, even if you go back before Facebook started doing all this stuff with live video, how hard is it to organize and find something that somebody put out there? They've just never been, I'll call it business friendly. Sure, they're friendly if you want to spend money on ads, but from the perspective of being able to be organized, right now you can organize your Substack to put the things in the order you want them to be seen.
oh wow, nice.
And so that I think is part of the benefit, and so that's where it kind of goes back to, maybe you go live on Facebook, but you could also do that proverbial, if you want to keep watching the show, my Substack link is in the comments, click that, and then you basically knock Facebook off.
There we go.
And don't worry about repurposing the Facebook Lives, because is it really doing a lot for you? Because I think it goes back to, even with what you're doing, Deb, how much replay view are you getting on the Facebooks that you're spending all this time on?
I usually get a lot the first week that it comes out. So I do get a lot of views, and some of my my Taste Buds with Deb shows get a lot because I tag and the people reshare to their communities. And the fact that they go away without asking me first, it's kind of annoying. But the other reason that I will probably never be completely off of Facebook is because my Right On Facebook group. Do you remember? This was like, remember where it was groups and then they made groups pages, and then you had to restart a group. So when I restarted, Right On, the Facebook page has like 10,000 and the Facebook group has a little over 3, but that's been on the Write Life's Best Facebook groups for writers for 9 years.
Wow.
So for that reason alone, I'm never going to completely go off, because every week I get a couple people because they repurpose that list, which is great. So I feel like it's important to keep the foothold, but as Viv, I know, agrees, claim your name everywhere, but it doesn't mean you have to always be everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't make sense. Because here's the thing with publicity, Facebook is useless to us any longer. It's only good for groups or store like small businesses and things like that. We don't bother with it. IG is obviously owned by Meta also. People are doing, IG lives and that kind of thing. But those people have switched over to TikTok for that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Journalists are all showing up on Bluesky, along with Substack. And so they have a presence there so people can find them. Not as much of a Substack unless they're a robust writer. If they like to write content. But Bluesky is where you can have your little sound bites and that kind of thing. So I see a lot more of that.
Yeah, I agree with what Kat's saying too. I think that's the one thing I have noticed. As much as I'm on Bluesky, I try to be active on it. I see much more engagement and stuff on Substack.
Yeah.
And so I'm tending to spend my time there. Maybe I have to start putting a clock on myself so I don't spend all day there. Yeah. But I think that's the whole thing. You start to learn about new people, new things. I also feel like, and Kat, let me know what you think. I feel like people are, maybe it'll change, but for the most part, right? It's kind of like the old Twitter. The people I'm communicating and connecting with are friendly. I don't feel like I'm in a cesspool. And even on Facebook right now, it's very hard unless you want to start blocking friends to, if you want to call them friends, to be on Facebook.
No,
it's aged out. It's like really, it's like from like boomers and older. For IG, it's most groups.
Wait, boomers and older? Do not say that to my Generation X herself.
Like, unless I had something that
Okay, Facebook. The best value I believe of Facebook is birthdays, where you hear from. It's like talk about getting love and reconnecting with people.
That. Yeah, I do.
I think it does that.
Yeah. Yes, and it's everyone listening. By all means, congratulate me on my birthday. But it's also becoming a pain in the butt. I guess I can't work on February 13th because I've got to spend the entire day responding to everybody who wished me a happy birthday.
February 7th. Yep. But that's okay. It's like people I don't talk to for quite a while.
Right. So that's their once a year to acknowledge that they're alive and you are too.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wandered from IG and then I got into Threads, but Threads was like my my gateway drug over to Substack, and I got Substack, and I'm like, Threads no more. I didn't
Kat, did you find with Threads, because I'm on Threads, but I just find that it's just kind of the same problem I've had with some of these other platforms. Like, I put stuff out there, I comment and like stuff, and it's like nobody likes me apparently.
It's a non-starter. It really is, because again, it's like Facebook, IG, and Threads are all the same thing. It's all the same group. It's all Meta. And so I find that it just doesn't have that rich possibility of really reaching people. It just doesn't have the reach. You're not visible there, and so you're kind of like wasting your time. If you really want to get a start to it, I think Bluesky and Substack are great for you. I don't see you as a TikTok guy, but no. Happily you can make.
Well, and I keep wondering, is it gonna, like, next month, is it gonna get shut down? So that's why I've just never gotten focused on it. Yeah,
that's valid. I see people who tipped over there. I lurk. My husband loves it. I just said, go to YouTube Shorts. Go over there and do that. But he loves TikTok and he sends me stuff, so that's fine.
You know, my head is only imploding a little bit because I have to figure out how the heck I'm going to recap this conversation. Because,
Yeah.
well, whereas we're here on the premise of Substack, I think the real message of this is, you know, in a world where we are overcluttered with social media, where do we spend our time and how are we the most effective? So what do you think is and this isn't the goal, it's the tip section. We'll get to gifting goals in a minute, but over the overarching land of social life, what is the most, or social media life, what is the most valuable activity you feel you do right now with those platforms?
Let's see.
And we're gonna let Kat answer first because she's all about the value.
Opinions about it.
Yeah.
I have to say that, you know, anything that gives me something new that's going to excite my brain in some kind of way, I would do that with Substack. You know, it's like I take a little break, I go over there. I have done that a little bit with Bluesky, but essentially it's like recapping the day's news, which I've already gotten. You know,
okay, but so as a, I'm gonna make you actually answer it as an answer. I know, I'm so mean. So not necessarily because you are from the realm of helping other people get seen. So for you, it's not about yourself. So what is one thing that you think someone could do other than do whatever works for you on Substack? Is that your answer?
I would say Substack is not for everybody. You know, unless you're somebody who has interests that you can share with experience, that kind of thing. If you are a prolific writer, all for you. I would say Bluesky is better if you just want like a little bit of something. If you want a presence where people are going to see you, that you can point to, that's not Twitter. But I wouldn't. Substack is great for lurkers like me. Who, you know, I find some folks like Kill Your Darlings or Salty Politics, you know, stuff like that. That's interesting, where I have a chance to see somebody's brain working, you know, to see them working on something that I'm not working on in my own brain. I think that's refreshing and interesting, especially now when everything's bananas. It comforts me to see there's all these smart people doing these interesting and productive things. It's really great. It makes me feel good.
Okay, I edited you because that's what I do. So if you want a presence, go to Bluesky. If you have an expertise, go to Substack. Okay, thumbs up to the listeners. I got approval on those edits. Viveka, what do you think is the most valuable activity on social media right now?
Yeah, you know, I think if I was starting new, I would be creating content, whatever my best content creation was, probably on Substack. Like if I was starting from scratch. For me, I do have a big following on LinkedIn still. I feel like I've had like a healthy divorce, a conscious uncoupling with LinkedIn, and we're still, you know, we still support each other because that's what we do. So for me, it's still LinkedIn because that's where I get the most engagement. But if I was starting and wanting to build a brand and create a brand and really create a center for thought leadership, I think I'd start on Substack. So I'm interested. I'm gonna be hitting you up, Jim, to find out what I should be doing more on Substack. But yeah, for me, it's still LinkedIn for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Well, tell your LinkedIn folks, give them your Substack, you know, and
exactly. Oh, it's on there.
Well, we became friends because of your LinkedIn expertise.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't all bad.
Yeah. Like I said, conscious uncoupling. We're both, you know, we're taking care of the kids. We're very
on the slide.
Okay. Yeah. And so what about you, Jim? What do you think is your most impactful social media activity?
I think it's definitely engagement first. and content second, because I think when we get into this mindset of that we have to constantly be creating content, and I think that's the problem. Well, my perspective as a gentleman reaching an age of, where I can draw another check if it's still there. We run into this problem of like, I don't want to have to sit there and constantly be creating short videos, right? It's like you got to keep feeding the machine. I would rather just say, that was a really insightful article that Viveka wrote, or I liked watching that video because I like seeing the conversation. And so I can give my thoughts, and other people will see like, oh, I like what this person said, right? It's that whole thing where we tell people, don't just, give a thumbs up or a heart. Tell people why you liked or did something. So that's where I think Substack, especially with notes and the ability to restack other people's thoughts, is powerful, because you can say, this is why I'm restacking this, and not have to go create content.
Yeah.
In that perspective, it does sound a lot like, what Twitter used to be, because you were responding and sharing. And I hosted my GoalChat Twitter chat, which I'm pretty sure is how we originally met, either that or through social media marketing world, Jim. But that was a great opportunity to be in conversation and share and comment and interact. And it does not. Well, I don't know if it exists anymore, because I have not been on the platform in a year and a half. Before we go to goals, Pam Barraway, who's watching live, hello Pam, says to check out Mastodon. Do any of you have experience on that platform?
No.
Yeah, I've gone over there. Like when people were migrating off of Facebook, I went over there. I'm part of a couple of Discord groups. But Mastodon it's like a big looming animal. It doesn't really have any vitality, so
Aptly named.
I poked at it for a little while and then wandered off.
Jurassic Park's coming out in July, right? Jurassic World.
Yes, I'd rather see those dinosaurs than it just wasn't. And you had to select particular groups.
Yeah, well, that's what stopped me from joining, because I had to join as a part of something. Yeah. And how do you join as a part of something when you don't know what the somethings are? So,
or you have to have a friend, who can, guide you.
Gives you the secret key. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly. Secret handshake.
No, I'm not going to do that. So,
well, this has definitely been like a giant bahat of soup of social media information with the Substack broth. Again, more food. And I so appreciate you all being on to unravel this. I look forward to a future conversation to see what Substack becomes, because I do believe that it sounds like it's got the ability to do, it's like it learned from the best of the other platforms and like merged everything together in a nice, and Substack had some controversy to it as well, or at least it did in the old days. Do you know anything about that, Jim?
I don't know a lot about it. I don't know, maybe Kat does, but I mean, of course, all these platforms have their controversy. I think there's still people think, oh, well, at what point is it going to, just like Clubhouse, right? Oh, these people are going to try to make their money and go away. And it kind of goes back to, at least if that happens right now, I've got my email list. I can stay connected with those people. All these other platforms I'm on, I don't have that ability. And that to me is a huge plus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And newsletters are really gaining traction now. It used to be like, oh, it's nice that you have a newsletter. Newsletters are key now.
They've always been key.
They
kind of
they
feel
always
like
have it in a certain group, but it's like I encourage the authors I work with. I said, do you have a newsletter? Are there people?
I feel like all the focus went to blogging, and then vlogging.
Yeah, and you
newsletters are like
writing
handwritten thank yous.
Yeah, and blogging was like, no.
So let's give people some okay, so Pam's defending Mastodon, which is fine. Mastodon does have a learning curve for sure, but it has lots of life. Also, you don't have to join someone else's instance. You can host your own, which I think that when it tried to replace Twitter, that was not an option. So something to consider, but I'm sure we could spend an hour listing all of the things that are out there that people could join. Which is fun. A lot of it too, it goes back to the secret to success is there is no one secret, which is the premise of 52 Secrets, which has 60. But
nice how you work that in, by the way.
Oh, well, I can't help it. Well, maybe I could, but why would I want to? But the point, thank you for the visual aids there, Kat. But the point being, like any social platform, like any networking activity, like any business activity, to take the platforms out for a test drive, see what works for you, do more of what works, and stop using what is only a time suck. But the thing that I like the most, as I mentioned before, I do a show and it winds up in a bunch of different places. What's one more place for me? You know, that's like a no-brainer. Okay, I'm going to take another 10 minutes, cut, copy, paste, upload, and see what other traction this sort of gets. So that makes sense, right? Yeah. So we know my goal. What goals do you have to gift to those tuning in as it relates to Substack? So, Kat, what goal would you like to gift?
For Substack?
Yeah. What Substack related goal do you have to give?
Yeah, I would say just something popped into my mind for what I would write. I would actually do an AMA and ask me anything, you know, about publishing or something like that. You know, instead of like blathering on about what's ticking in my mind right at the moment, I'd rather share other people's content, but also I'm happy to answer questions. So that would be more of what I would do. So my goal is to get out there a little bit more. How's that?
Oh, so if someone is new to Substack, start with an AMA and use that to create content?
I think. I really do. It's like some people prefer to be asked something so they have something to share about. Yeah. You know, like I'm a reluctant writer. I'm a decent writer, but I'm reluctant.
Jim, what goal are you gifting today?
So the goal I'm gifting is if you go to my Substack, I have a webinar we did that we turned into a blog post that tells you how to get started with Substack, and it has everything that you need, all the different features. And so you can either read it or you can watch the hour plus long video. So I'll give you choices. So you got choices, right?
Choice.
And but I would also go back to what Kat said. You know, the other goal gift I would say is start a Substack chat on your Substack, and then you can kind of throw those things out there, like I've done in my chat, like, you know, what keeps you from getting started with a video, or, you know, what's your favorite platform to stream with, and people can answer, and you can have one-on-one conversations with them, or you can make it part of that chat for everyone to see.
Okay. Yeah. And if you send me the link to that article, I will put that in the recap as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And Viv, goal?
I think the goal is, this is an awesome opportunity to be authentically yourself again, right? And I'm very proud of us for not going down the AI rabbit hole, but I feel like with all the AI out there, you know, Substack gives you a real opportunity, because it does give you these different mediums and platforms for the real you to come out on video, or, you know, unless you're doing a Julie McCoy. Hey, Jen, but you know, where the authentic you can come out, and in all the forms, whether it's a chat, whether it's notes of somebody else's content that you're curating, whether it's your own live, which Jim, I have to figure out how you did that with, or just your blog posts and your newsletters and your writing. But it's your opportunity to really bring your authentic self back into the picture, which, to go 360 in the conversations, which is why I have vivekavonrosen.com, which is why I think having Debra Eckerling.com, or not .com, .substack.com, because it is the you who is engaging. It's not an edifice that's engaging.
And for, no, I like that. In authenticity, I think comes up in every, if not like every other GoalChat. And actually, I'm doing AI the beginning of June with Jim's co-host, Chris Stone, as one of,
There we go.
because I'm lukewarm on AI. I feel about AI the way I feel about SMART goals. It is a tool, but if you rely on it for everything, there's no point. So anyway, that's a rant for a different day. But the authenticity question, I'm just going to ask quick rapid fire. What can people do to be more authentic? Because I think they get really stuck in their own head. Viv?
Video. I mean, I think video and just, but true video, not like, not filtered to within an inch of your life.
Okay. And Jim, what do you do to be more authentic?
Well, I think Viv hit on it, but I would take it a step further and say it's live video because I can't get a do-over.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever just came out of my mouth, and I just have to live with it. And it keeps us out of the perfectionist trap, because if you're going to go live, it is what it, I mean, I love the fact that, and we had comments on Substack, people love the fact that they could hear the birds in the Banana Republic down there where it's hanging out.
And I do, well, this obviously, this is what it is. And one thing, I am addicted to podcasting. We know this. I've got at least 2 or 3 more that I want to start, in addition to those taste buds and the video series I've been doing for 52 Secrets. But I think when you do live, you're more likely to create content, so you do not edit yourself into oblivion. So, and I have a rule with my taste buds, which I pre-record, but they're 20 to 30 minute conversations. The only thing I edit is if I go on a tangent that takes us completely out of the subject matter. But for the most part, I try not to edit that at all, because that's where you get the good stuff. That's where you get the good conversations. Do you have a thought on authenticity?
I think that's really it. I think Jim really hit on it, is that, if we look at something that we recorded, there's always going to be that feeling that we need to do something to it. I mean, I've learned how to edit, Zoom calls and things like that, just because it's like, we're gabbing at the front of it. Let's get the meeting part in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that just, we're geniuses when we're just talking. But it can get a little stilted if it's recorded and edited.
Right.
So.
And you are reading a script after the transcribing.
I like the whole we're geniuses when we're just talking, because there is such a thing as over practicing, or over editing or overthinking. And that's, I think, a big part of why goals fail, is because people overthink them or they underthink them. They have no plan. So going into it with, what you want to say, the idea of it, and then just go, and I like, and we'll, to like call back to the front of the conversation when Jim was talking about how, when you Substack or when you blog, I always believed I was born to blog, because I've always talked I've always written the way that I talk. When you do that, that's where the authenticity comes in as well. So to just be as much you as possible and realize that that's a good thing. That is to your benefit, for sure. We lost Viv again. We'll see if she returns. But in the meantime, Jim and Kat, where can people learn more about you, Jim?
Well, you can go to LinkedIn to Jim Fuhs, just search for me there, or go to jimfuhs.substack.com. I would say those are the two best places right now to connect with me.
Awesome. And Kat, where's the best place to find you?
Go to LinkedIn. Don't go to my crappy little website.
I have not even given people the URL for your
Yes, because
website.
I'm going to ask Jim how I can switch it to Substack and just have everything point there, and then I'll strut my stuff or whatever.
Okay. And I will do Viv's. You can learn more about Viveka von Rosen at beyondthedreamboard.com, and you can join Viv's Substack, which is Viveka von Rosen.substack.com. And if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you will get the recap and the links. I put everybody's website except for Kat's. Well, we'll put Llewelyn's for Kat's, but everybody's LinkedIn and also everybody's Substack on the recap from this conversation. And I am at the Deb Method everywhere. If you want to follow me, I'm live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific. You can subscribe to YouTube. You can subscribe to GoalChat and Taste Buds with Deb on iTunes and or your favorite place where you get your podcasts. And apparently, DebraEckerling.com/Substack is a future destination Substack or whatever.
Podcast there, yes.
Such a fabulous conversation, friends. What final thought do you want to leave everybody with? Kat, final thought?
I'm saying if you haven't been to Substack, you should go check it out, and just really see how wonderful it is.
Yeah, I would agree with Kat. I mean, go ahead. I mean, it doesn't cost anything to join Substack. Check it out. You might be pleasantly surprised, and you may also see some opportunities to add your voice in an area that you really couldn't do maybe on some of these other platforms.
Okay. So I love how your final thoughts were also homework, but I feel given the topic, go to Substack should really be like not the pre-bonus goal. It's not even a bonus goal. It is a goal. Thank you so much, Jim Fuhs, Kat Neff, and Viveka von Rosen for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, I'm at the Deb Method everywhere. And if you need a little bit of extra help and encouragement for your goals, you can grab a copy of your goal guide and or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting at your favorite place to buy books. And again, Substack, like any social media, it is there for you to explore and engage and see how it will best work for you personally as well as professionally to uplift who you are and what you have to contribute to the world. Go play with Substack. We know you want to, and we know you can do it.
Woo!